Learn, Earn, and Return, our Friday Frisco Entrepreneurial Speaker Series. So with us today, we have Mr. Josh Futrell, ComHome Technology Solutions. So welcome, Mr. Josh.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. Now, as we typically do, if you can give us a couple of minutes just kind of talking a little bit about your company, the background, how you came to be. ComHome has been around since 2010, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most of your growth has been over the last 3 years or so. So tell us a little bit about how you got going, your personal background, and then we'll just kind of dive in from there. And we'll open it up for Q&A at a certain point in time as well.
Okay, well, pretty much I'll just start off, when I got out of high school, I joined the Air Force. In the Air Force, I served about 8.5 years, and through that experience, I worked on C-17 cargo planes. So I was a crew chief, basically learned troubleshooting, I was keeping the jet flying.
It's a good thing to do.
It's a really good thing.
You're supposed to do that.
And especially when the wars kicked off, we ended up mobilizing and taking a flying program, special duty, and I stayed gone for about 2 years, just flying all over the world, supporting the war effort, other kind of missions. And then I was newlywed at the time, so after about 1.5 years, my wife was like, "This flying game is just not going to work." So I had the opportunity to change jobs in the Air Force, and I got into communications infrastructure. So it put me in the position where I was maintaining and building base network environments, security, internet, routing, switching, all that stuff, all the Cisco and the Microsoft stuff of the world that keeps our communications going. From there, I got out of the Air Force and started working, doing consulting, working for different kind of high-level Cisco, Microsoft partners, doing big projects, Fortune 500 companies, just putting myself in positions to learn more, grasp more, climb more, and it ended up putting me out here in Dallas working with a big IT company. And shortly after, I realized, it was a big corporate environment. I was really getting tired of that, coming from the transition of military into the corporate world. The ladder was getting harder to climb. I was ready to go, and I felt I was being stifled. So I made the decision, well, let's go down to the lower level and work for some smaller organizations and see if I can help foster their growth. Tried that for a few different companies, realized they had it all wrong. I probably was better, and decided, hey, it's time to go start my own company. And I got a nice little nudge from the last CEO who says, you don't need to be working here anymore. And I was like, well, you're right. So I started my company the next day, and I think within 24 hours, it led me on the doorstep of the Chamber of Commerce, and I haven't looked back. So
how long were you in that corporate world after the military before you started on your own?
See, I got out in 2008. And I think
2 to 3 years.
2011 is when I got here, so yeah.
Good.
It's about 3 years. I got tired of the corporate world.
Very good. All right. So let's touch base. We're not going to spend too much time on technology because I can't follow you on any of that. I don't understand it.
I don't like talking
technology questions. We're going to leave that up to the audience. But so you got a military background. This is something ever since I knew you were going to be coming here, I wanted to ask you. Military, it's follow orders. That's the number one thing that you do in the military is, hey, that's an order, do or die, no problem, yes sir. Entrepreneurs are think outside the box. Hey, I know better, as you said, you know better, they got it all wrong, free thinking. How do those two mesh together? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or, I don't know, to me that's something I've been wanting to ask you.
But honestly, I think it's a good thing, especially what happened in my situation. You join the military, a lot of these guys are young. They're coming in 18 up to 25. It's rarely you get older people coming in that. And
they don't take us old people, though.
I know. But basically, you get in there, you're given all this responsibility, and then you're maintaining multi-million-dollar aircrafts, and you're 19 years old, 20 years old. You have to have structure. You have to have process. Because, one, the lives are at risk, the mission's at risk, and all that's dependent on is a young workforce. So the structure and the process and the training, I think that the military is instilled in us plays well in the entrepreneurial world, because Yet where free thinker is outside the box, you still have to have a basic structure, a process, or you'll go off in tangents that will end up ultimately probably either hurting your business or going in a direction that you really didn't intend to go.
It's good, because what I was thinking that the number one thing is follow orders, the number two thing is things never go according to the mission and the plan, and then you gotta improvise and
Yep.
just survive at that point in time.
And that's the truth, and I think there's a quote from Napoleon that was, the laws that govern circumstance are undone by a new circumstance. So, I mean, it's completely, you're following process, following mission, and you get a variable. And what do? You adapt and overcome. But there's always that built-in process, so that's ingrained in you. So you end up learning how to adapt with the structure.
But not everybody who serves in the military necessarily should be an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
Some growth there. So what would be the traits of, and I keep focusing on military, but I think it was an interesting angle, what would be those traits that you would look for if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a boss who's looking for that kind of a mindset? What traits coming out of the military would be good for entrepreneurism and growth companies like that, and which ones, danger.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest trait of just an entrepreneur, period, is passion. You have to have passion for what you're doing, or you're not going to like it, because it's not easy. I mean, I think last night I was answering emails at like 11:30, and it's just something I had to do. I got stuff I got to get out, and but it didn't bother me. I enjoyed it. It's like, well, tomorrow's gonna be a great day now that I got this out. But it's really, you have to have passion. You have to have drive. I mean, beyond that, the military and entrepreneurs, I mean, there is a lot of people who just like to take orders and follow commands. I mean, there's a lot of doers out there, and a lot of people who are basically just followers and waiting for that order. And those individuals are great for entrepreneurs, because really they're the ones that execute.
Yeah.
So I can fly 90-0 and put 10 things together, and yet
You gotta
I
have
need
those
the
people
team on the
behind
back
you.
end actually executing this
Hold
stuff.
you back and keep you in control, and you forgot to check this box and you forgot to send that in. That's one of the things we teach our students at the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. If you're not the most outgoing, or you don't like to create things, but you're great at fixing things or selling things or accounting for things, you need everybody to be a part of the team.
Yeah,
Team. So,
I think that's the biggest thing, is your team, is the people you bring on, the people you surround yourself with, not necessarily your employees, but it's everybody around you. I'm not a sales guy. I don't try to be. I have an engineering background, so what I like to do is fix things. I'm a problem solver, so it's really good with the type of business I do. I'm a relationship guy. When you're selling managed IT services to people, you're not selling, buy this latest technology. You're selling trust. I mean, I work with companies, and I have access to everything they have. I probably know more than half the CEOs of their company, and I take that very seriously. I mean, there's a lot of trust that goes into that, and so keeping that trust is very crucial to me. And you have to do that through relationship building, service delivery, and just making sure that you're attentive to your clients, because ultimately they're the boss. That's what I try to tell all my people. Like, I'm not the boss; they're the boss. I'm just enabling you.
So you said you're a problem solver, and earlier you said you realized that all these other companies you were trying to work for, they had it all wrong.
Yes.
So obviously there were problems in what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got going in 2011 and really started going, you said, okay, this is the way it's going to be. At what point, I'm assuming, did you discover that you had some problems? You didn't have it all right. You may have had a few things wrong. Did you? Was there a growing curve like that, or did you have it right all from the very start?
That's every day. Yesterday I was like, man, do I need to rethink this thing? No, but right from the get-go, I mean, running a business is, I knew technology, I knew process, I knew project management, but there's 100 different curveballs that come at you with business. Nothing is, as it seems sometimes. When you jump in there, sometimes it's not just the general, here's a work issue, it's a completely other issue coming from left field that you're having to deal with, which stifles, the progress that you're trying to make with your ultimate goals. So
So is there a point in the last roughly 6 years that things really, you got over that initial hump and things are starting to get easier, grow more? Where did you get to that point that you go, I think I'm gonna make it? You're going, I'm gonna make it, I think I'm gonna make it, I think I'm gonna make it. I don't know if I wanna make it, and then, have you gotten to that point yet? Or is it, once again, is it a continuous type thing?
I think I almost hit that point every so often, because you know, you just, every day it's a grind. You get up, you keep going. You know, you try to do day by day, but then there's little wins, and those little wins are like, wow, all right, this is getting better. Now let's see how much more we can push it. See how much more risk we can take. I think in the 5 years that I've had the business here, this year is ultimately where I'm seeing a lot of my networking efforts, my relationships really start paying off. I mean, my phone doesn't stop ringing. Of course, that's probably due to a lot of these cybersecurity news threats, so keep them coming.
No.
Well, you call me and you never have to worry about it. But
shameless plug right there. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I lost track.
Well, it was like, you're always pushing, but yet, as we were talking about, you've got some sort of your laws that you govern your enterprise by. One of those that you said was grow or die. And it sounds you're continuously pushing. It's not, I want to get to here. Once you get there, okay, it's getting easier, because once you get to here, then you go, now we got to move it up to this level. Now we got to move it up to this level.
What's the next challenge? I mean, that's really what it is. You set these goals. You're like, this is where I'd like to be. You know, once you hit that, hopefully you've got a whole nother set of goals you want to hit. And that's right. And it's a compounding effect. You know, one little win turns into a bigger win, and then those wins turn into a bigger win. So I guess this year I'm really experiencing some of that compounding effect, and it's insane.
But then you get new problems,
Oh,
new obstacles.
it's a completely new, there's all kind of problems, from getting capital to running projects to finding resources. It's so hard to find good, talented people that can execute today.
It's that old adage, hey, the good news is I got that new contract. The bad news is I got that new contract. Now what am I going to do with it?
Yeah, there are 2 of them this week, and I'm like, this is great, but wow, time to staff up. But it's a balance. It really is. So what I've learned is it's a balance of taking care of your people, taking care of your clients, and trying to make profit at the same time. And you got to focus on all 3 things, and there's got to be a balance. Or if one side gets too top heavy, the other sides of the business will fill it.
So you said all 3: taking care of people, making a profit. What was the third one?
Taking care of your clients, service delivery.
Oh, that's right. Clients.
You don't take care of your clients, you ain't got to worry about the other 2.
Clients, your people, making money. Do we have any questions from those here at this point about kind of background? As I'm going to move things into another direction if we don't, but I want to see if you guys got any questions on background, how we got to this point, etc. We can always come back. All right. So we mentioned you got some ComHome laws about how you run an organization.
Yep.
Do you think that's important for a new entrepreneur, a startup company, to have a set of laws? Is it basically a culture, or why do you have these ComHome laws?
Really, I adopted them from another company I worked for. It was just, they put them on the back of the business cards. It was just something always you look at it, just little quick one-liners that I really think apply to business and building a good culture, and it's something that everybody could adopt. So, I adopted them. Every now and then I'll sit down with the guys, I'll throw a couple of them out, we'll post them on the wall, but they're just little quick one-liners that I think apply to business at all levels, whether it's small or you're running, corporate business.
So it's got kind of guiding principles that help lead to a culture over time.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of times with guiding principles, we've got 5, 6 that we go by here at the chamber. You've got how many?
I don't even know, like 20.
I don't know.
I got them condensed down, but I couldn't find that PowerPoint.
So we already talked about one that you got here, grow or die.
Yep.
We talked about that one. One that I really liked was lies are hard to remember.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, especially in my world, because I'm talking to 100 people, answering 100 emails. I mean, you start lying and then they fact check you. It's just downhill from there. So I've learned it's a lot easier business, to be honest. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes I have to eat humble pie, and but the client is going to respect you, or anybody you're dealing with is going to respect you more if you shoot them straight. even in the short term, if it's not a good outcome, in the long term, it'll pay off.
All right, so we mentioned earlier the three things. We're gonna burn this into everybody. Taking care of your people, your clients, and making profit.
Yes, sir.
And yet one of your laws here is cash flow is more important than profit.
It is, because if you don't have cash flow, profit will go away. The thing about it is, I mean, small businesses, we're all trying to navigate through the waters, whether it's taxes, whether it's bringing on new clients, whether it's bringing on more resources. It all costs money, and there's an operation that's always going that you have to feed. So, yeah, I might be able to go after a big government contract, a $5 million contract is going to pay out, but that might not pay out for 6 months. And if I'm not feeding the fire, my company's not going to be there in 6 months. So you always got to keep that in mind. Sometimes you can't just look at every deal as, oh, you got to get the most profit out of this. Sometimes you just got to go for the win. And the win is feeding the fire and having that cash flow to build and run your organization.
So you could win the battle, back to the military, you could win the battle but lose the war if you're not careful.
Yep.
You gotta keep that end
It's
goal.
strategy. I mean, if you've got a certain amount of resources, there is a certain obligation for you to have, money to pay them. And if you're not bringing in the constant cash flow, you'll get in trouble just chasing big deals, because what if they don't pan out? Or what if they don't pay on time?
Okay. Now you've got one here and it opens up a whole new concept as far as managing your time. You said you were up till 11:30. I know you were out till after 8+ in the community last night doing stuff. You're answering email. One of your laws is a full day spent in meetings is 40% wasted.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance, you've got meetings, you're trying to get the job done, you obviously believe in being involved in the community. How do you balance that, especially if you're starting up and brand new? It's all about the business. How do you balance community? How do you balance wasted time in meetings? You learned early on when you were flying around the world newlywed, not smart decision.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to balance family in there. How do you balance all of that and keep that end goal in mind?
I wish I had the answer. Now, the truth is, really, I block a lot of my time out. Some of the books that I've read, kind of guide you to take in and doing time management. Time management's important. So whether it's, I don't sit and hover my email all day, I'll check it once or twice a day, and then I'll spot check it just to make sure there's no fires.
Does that really work? I mean, that's what all the time management books say, is check it 2, maybe 3 times.
Once you get used to it, you'll love it.
I'm not at that
Really,
point. I'm still trying to clear out the inbox, so.
But, beyond that, work, family, and then, personal development. Those are the 3 things I focus on. Everything else, goes out the window. So I set time aside for my family, whether it's I crunch out a whole day on the weekend or something like that. We do something, we're involved. I turn off for a certain amount of the day, whether it's getting home from the community stuff, a couple hours, just sit down, see what the family's doing, get really involved. And then, when everybody's settling down, I turn it back on for an hour or 2 and, get what I need to do. But, as a business owner, I'm moving around, I'm having meetings, I'm meeting opportunities. Sometimes the meetings are a complete waste of time because they're just wanting to sell me something. But, you still got to put in that effort, you still got to, go through the motions and just learn how to balance the ones that are going to be meaningful and of value, and try to keep the ones that aren't.
That whole quadrant exercise, urgent and important, urgent, not important, I forget the other 2. But.
And I wish I had the secret sauce on the balancing, but sometimes, the family will sacrifice a little bit, but you just got to know, here's my thing about that. If you make your family sacrifice for what you have to do on your work ethic, make it up to them, make it up tenfold. So if you got to put in a hard week or 2 where you don't get much seat time, you don't get to go take them somewhere where they'd like to go, or you miss a ball game or something, make it up tenfold the next month when you do have the time. Take them to Six Flags, do things, and that's what I've learned to do. It's a balance. So.
And somebody mentioned a long time ago, as I was listening to, that a balance in life doesn't mean it's, to use your rule of 3s, which I'm looking for on here. I don't see it, but you got a lot of rules of 3s. That it's not 8 hours this, 8 hours this, 8 hours this. It might be 20 hours this, 4 hours this for a few days, but then it's 20 hours in a different area, 4 hours. It doesn't mean it's all even,
Yep.
but you keep it all in balance over the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And keep it in mind that long-term perspective, the battle, or the war, not just the battle.
Yep, and then the other thing is, personal development. That's huge too. Taking care of yourself, getting into good health habits. I mean, running a company, now I've got people underneath me that rely on me to help grow the company so that them and their families can eat. So both, taking care of yourself, reading, knowledge, learning new things, coaches. I take advice from anyone around me. So I've always got an open ear. Other business owners, helping out people in the community. So that kind of stuff is really what fulfills my personal life and my personal development. And so I think all three things are huge.
Goes back to my mantra that I said last week here is, you'll be the same person, I think I said it here or somewhere else, you'll be the same person 5 years from now as you are today, except for the books you read or the people you meet. You just touched on both of those again. So you touched on something earlier that I want to go back to. When you're an entrepreneur by yourself, you can be out there in your garage, in your office, in your den, you're working all hours, and let's not even include the family in, but just it's a one-person company. That's a lot different than when you've got, how many employees do you have now?
We're at 8 now.
8 employees. When did you first go, because I know this hit me at one point, when you say, it's not just my organization, I got 8 people, 8 families that look to me for their livelihood, for their lifestyle.
Yep.
Did that hit you at a certain point? And that's a big change for an entrepreneur to realize he's now that organization, people are looking at him as a boss. When did that hit you, or how do you feel about that?
I think it hit me probably about 2-3 years ago when I really started bringing on staff. I always ran with myself, maybe a right-hand person, but when I really had to start hiring a staff and really managing them and worrying about, healthcare and stuff like that, I started realizing, they have families, they're starting families, so it became a big responsibility to me. So it's almost like overnight my job changed. I'm not the technician no more. I'm not the guy that goes out and turns the wrenches. Now my job is to take care of them and enable them so they can do and learn what I was able to do. So
have you found that in your career as an entrepreneur or talking to other people, does that take any of the zest of being an entrepreneur away? Does that responsibility kind of quelch that, I don't know if that's the right word, but snuff out that spirit that, oh my God, I'm going to go do this? Because now there's a responsibility that you've got there. You can't just go and try this because you've got 8 people that are looking to you to keep their jobs, and if something goes wrong, it's not just you going, okay, no money this month. You got 8 people who are going, what are we going to do?
yeah, that is
I don't mean to bring you down here.
That is
Yeah,
the fear,
talk
but
about
the
it.
thing about it is, that's my job is to take the risk.
Yeah.
So they've got to be, I've got to be making the right choices and taking the right risk. But then you've also got to have the people that work for you buying into what you're passionate about, what you're aiming for. And if everybody's aligned and
Following the law.
following the laws, on point with the mission and the goal, and if everybody's on board, we go after those risks and we go after them as a team. So, because there's always going to be pitfalls in anything you do. So, and if you're not taking a risk and you can't take a black eye, then I don't know if you should be running a business.
All right, we got pretty serious there. So we want to open it up to anybody. Do we have any questions on any of the stuff that we've talked about here so far?
Josh, what do you see as your key to growth? What was the breakover point that really took you from being a sole proprietor into a small business?
I think it's really the relationship building and the service delivery. We go above and beyond. We try to under promise and over execute. So beyond that, it was realizing that I'm not a one-man show and finding good people. And once you enable them, it just the spigot opens. So you build the right philosophies, the right culture, you attract the right people, you do good by your customers and great service delivery, and it blossoms. And I'm starting to see that, and it's doing it quickly.
It's funny because a lot of people think creating a business and entrepreneurship, is real rocket science, but at the end of the day, it's really finding a new product or delivering an existing service better at a better price with better service taking care of the clients than anybody else at a fair price. So good product, better service at a fair price. At the end of the day, that's really all it comes down to, isn't it? Building a better mousetrap.
Why'd you just give away my secret sauce?
But, you know, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it and everybody would be doing wonderful.
It's hard. I mean, because like I said, that's where the whole balancing thing comes into play. Because, you know, everybody wants to make a profit, but sometimes you have to give that up to balance out the workforce or take care of a client that, you know, maybe you mess something up and now you got to take the hit and you just got to be ready for stuff like that.
It's amazing when you run. I've recently had a situation where I had two different vendors. One did just like you said, hey, they didn't even know if it was their problem, they're going to take care of it. Somebody else is going, that wasn't my problem. And two very different ways of doing business. You mentioned getting the right people on, and when you just get that new contract and you're growing, man, you want to hire people, you want to build that team. But one of your laws that actually is very good, an unfilled position is better than one filled by the wrong person.
Yep.
And so a lot of times you're anxious, man, I want to build, I got to build new people and bring new people on. That's the way I'm going to grow. You'll work. So why'd you adopt this law?
It's a very important law, and I wish I would have, you know, followed it as I was growing this business. But I mean, sometimes it's hard. It's hard to judge people and know if you've got the right people in the right spot, especially in a young company. You learn over time the right people you want to bring into the culture. But honestly, that is the truth. If you just try to plug people into positions, it'll ultimately hurt your business, because you want A+ people that are passionate, that want to be in that position, that don't feel overwhelmed, you know, to be taking that role. And if you're just filling positions, you're gonna feel it in your business. They can a person in the wrong position can stifle growth really quick.
It goes back to good to great and get the right people on the bus and in the right seats on the bus. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. And sometimes that means you got to leave a position empty.
Yep.
Until you find that position, and let the rest of the people that believe in where you're going, believe in that idea, and let them divide it up and fill that role until you can find it.
And right now, I need an executive assistant, and so that's why I'm up at
Put it out
11:30 pumping out emails. So there's my need.
Executive assistant needed right here. Website would be. We have any other questions out here at this point? We've got a few minutes. We're going to wrap up pretty soon.
Your space is pretty busy, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do you guys, like if somebody asked you, what makes you guys different? If you're selling me your product, what makes you different than the other 60 people that knock on my door?
I think really it's our service delivery, our relationship. We're transparent. In my world, technology, it's kind of funny to shift. A lot of salespeople, they want to sell you the products. They want to get in there. Me, I try to understand the environment. And my goal, and I think what sets us apart is, I don't want to just manage your environment. I want to show you how I can take technology and grow your environment. You know, not just put in the latest and greatest, but put in something that is going to make you more efficient. It's going to protect you more. So I really, from my perspective, I try to be like the fractional CTO of my clients. You know, have you thought about this? You know, forecasting the direction, like, you know, if you did this, giving them the analytics, the trends of, you know, you can grow your business more using this, and basically guiding them to that. You know, I want them to outgrow me. So I mean, that's my own goal, and you know, it's a good market to be in, because small, mid-level, they need that technology help. You know, cybersecurity is every day you hear about this stuff. It's crazy, but
It's all going to be gone tomorrow. No need for any of that stuff tomorrow.
shut
I'm
it
still
all
not
down.
sure about the
We just need to
internet.
get
being
solar
around.
flare too. We'll be all right.
EMP. So one of my favorite questions, if you had one book to recommend to people on entrepreneurs and business, time management, one book, one business type book that you would recommend?
One book. It's
One
gotta be
book.
one.
You can go two if you
All
want.
right, I'll do two. I'll do one. So Tim Ferriss, I know he was mentioned at the last one. I really, the guy's an optimizer. It's crazy. The analytics that he does, I love listening to stuff. I couldn't apply it all, but his 4-hour work week and his 4-hour body is phenomenal. And then I haven't even gotten to the 4-hour shift yet.
We're gonna get him to sponsor this sector from now on, because this is 2 weeks in a row that we're plugging in,
Some
so.
optimizer. But other than that, there's
This
one.
event sponsored by Jim Fair.